Yeah, this must be
This whole Saturday goes crazy.
Cold start to
That is the worst part about not hosting Thanksgiving is not having.
That's like, you can see that one band was really nice.
If I had to go home, sure, I just, my dad's like, I say, Candy, I'm like, Dad. What's that?
We're in? This our quorum?
Yeah, it looks like we're probably near the end of the semester crowd. But all right, for those of you who are here, thank you very much for coming out. Fortunate to have Rich Grumm again, doing me a favor because I didn't have a weather briefing speaker for today. So thank you, Rich, for coming on out. And I'll let you.
Who's going to do the 11th?
What's that?
Who's doing the 11th?
That's during finals. We won't have one.
Oh, so it's the 4th is the last one.
Yeah, so we actually have, spoiler, Paul Knight's doing it next.
Yeah. You're supposed to meet
You
him that.
stole your last one?
No, he didn't. Anyway, so it's going to be a cold start through to the middle of the week. I guess today's midweek and for the rest of the week. And so basically, we'll do a quick overview of the large-scale pattern and the ENSO. We're basically in an El Nino winter. It looks like it doesn't look earth-shattering. We begin today. Of course, we're post-frontal, and we stay cold mostly this week. But there's the best chance of snow, of course, is with lake effect. And if you've seen the salamander, you know there's a pretty good band to our north and west. So there's a cyclone forecast by the EFS to pass to our west this weekend, which would likely give us a pretty good warm-up. I've seen temperature ranges from the mid-40s to the mid-50s, at least one day this weekend. And we're obviously going to rain, which will probably wash away what's left of the snow pile. And then we have a cold frontal passage by the end of the week and early next week. It's not too cold behind it. Some model runs in the Navy showed hints of a potential storm next week, but that'll change from run to run, clearly. It doesn't even look like it exists much at all in the 12ZG, if it just is coming up. And it looks like a persistent weak ridge along the west coast. That should diminish the chances of extremely warm weather, at least through the middle of the month of December. So these are the temperature anomalies. You can see we're warm no matter where you look in the time frame. All our anomalies are above normal. Most people like the 3-4, but 4 is pretty close. So, and then this is what the distribution looked like. That was an animation, but when I put it into here, it wouldn't animate. You can see how a lot of warm water just side the dayland. So it's not an overly impressive El Nino, and I can hide this. It says.
Okay, you can click hide.
And then I have to seek it if I need it. And so, of course, so we know we're looking at El Nino that's forecast to persist most of the winter. So the other thing that's really good for people who like snow is the North Atlantic Oscillation and a negative NAO. You can see it's interesting, like I'll put the mouse here. We started trending negative and we got pretty negative. That was around the time we had our snowstorm. And the NAO has kind of stayed negative, but it's trending positive, and then the models don't know whether it's going positive or negative. And we have little or no skill in forecasting the NAO. There are people who think they can do it. I've read articles in some UK journals saying that they think they can do it, but I don't know if anybody can. But the bottom line is, like, the NAO is probably going to be pretty close to something. Obviously, by early December, there's a lot of uncertainty what the NAO is going to do. If you like snow, you want to see it go negative clearly. So anyway, the NAOs doesn't look really impressive at this point in time. So the current pattern, of course, we have this really deep trough in the eastern United States, actually just to our west, with a blocking ridge, which is kind of making it really chilly here, forcing troughs below us. And one thing that's been persistent, I don't know if you can watch it over the course of time, is there's been a ridge out over the Atlantic and over the Pacific, pretty much going on for months now. If you loop this, it's been anomalous ridges out over the oceans for a while. This feature has been kind of persistent, semi-persistent since the latter part of November. And if you really look at it from the perspective of the Atlantic Basin, it looks like the old classic omega block kind of thing. So we'll hit this on blocking. And you can see at 850, we have really below normal temperatures that plunged into the central United States. No surprise with the big snowstorm. I guess was it officially 8 inches of snow in Chicago yesterday?
I didn't see Chicago snow.
I think it was 8 inches.
I saw Rockford had their biggest November
11 and a half.
11 and a half.
Yeah, what we had.
And then you can see this storm redeveloped off the coast. This is this morning, and see there's a deep cyclone just south of Long Island. And even in New England, a lot of places changed to snow this morning. And of course, the northwesterly flow behind it, this is a precip map, so it's a 0 out of 4. It's an analysis of the GFS. I'm not going to show you anything. So the coming pattern this week, you see there's a big, this is the pattern as of, this is Friday evening, beginning of the weekend, this trough digging into the southwestern United States. So we're going to get a lot of ridging along the east coast. So you're going to get a response with above normal temperatures in the middle of the United States. There's some confluent flow that suggests we might not get as robustly warm, at least initially, because we'll probably have northerly geostrophic winds, which happened last weekend. So despite how warm the temperatures look like they're going to get, we might not get quite as warm as we may think. Here's this surface pattern. You can see a really anomalous cyclone in the southern plains, but that bad boy is supposed to track right into the Great Lakes, which is more, to me, I was thinking of a La Nina storm track when storms go to our west, but it is what it is. Every storm is unique, and again, at the surface, you see really warm air, but we're close to normal, at least initially in the weekend. So that leads to a big warm-up, and this is the 6Z GEFS. I haven't looked at the 12Z if it's populated yet, but some members are forecasting temperatures as high as 57 degrees over the weekend, but some of them are really chilly in the upper 40s, but it looks like the mean and the median are like pushing 50 degrees here. So pretty good warm-up. Then you can see at the end of the weekend we cool down. Next week we're just, this is the zeroed line. I don't know, what's our normal high and low next week? Probably about what, 42-ish?
Low to mid-40s, mid-40s.
And the lows in the upper 20s, low 30s. So it looks like we'll have, this weekend we're going to have above normal everything. And then next week it looks like we're going to be probably below normal for highs if you believe this, and we'll probably be above normal for the most part for lows. And you can see we get really warm at 850. There's no question that this event coming up will be rain. And then here's the plume diagram for State College. It says maybe we'll be cold air dam, but you can see that in the confluent flow, the geostrophic flow. We could start off on the evening of the 30th and the morning of the 1st with some brief freezing rain, which ended up being very unbrief on Saturday, and then churning the rain. And the second event is really a big rain event, and it's another event that there's hints of that could be rain or snow, but who knows? It's too far out. So this is the pattern that's valid later on. This is the 6th of December, moving on about a week out, and you can see we're in the blue zone for unloading and loading below normal heights, and we're in the blue zone for low normal temps. So we're going to get cold again next week, but it's not as anomalous in the forecast. Of course, this has 21 members in it, so kind of any extremes be dampened out. And on the other, then this goes to the 13th, the end of the month, and you can see our flow is kind of There's still hints of some kind of ridge out here, but it's not as persistent. And these things still persist, and our temperatures are, normalish. Nothing to write home about. So, and then this shows the surface pattern with that, and you can see, and this is it's 12. This was the 6Z GEFS bias corrected, and this is next Wednesday, where it had hints of a storm coming up along that cold front along the coast. So there was hints of a potential storm, and you can see that in the plume diagrams. There was some precipitation in the 4 through 6 time frame, and whether or not there'd be a snow or rainstorm, I don't know. But I just found out this morning I'm going to be in Pittsburgh anyway, so I'm babysitting. I found out. And so this is the near-term weather. This is what really matters right now. We can look at the radar in a minute, but this was the 6Z HREF. And you can see it had a lot of lake effect snow. Kind of showing like more of a west-southwest flow, really keeping the heaviest snow close to the lakes. And this was an earlier version of the HREF showing the heaviest snow mainly north of the Pennsylvania border, but some hints of at 20 to 1, like a 2 to 6 inch snowstorm maybe in northwest Pennsylvania. And we can look at newer runs than that. If I go back, we can look at GO 16 too. It has that beautiful band that's coming in. I couldn't hear the music, but I apparently had snow. So we'll switch screens here. Alternate tab, right? I loaded a bunch of stuff up. I don't know which one I loaded up.
Probably in the Google one.
Google? I loaded up.
Hello.
That's me. Oh, that's pretty scary picture there. The Google, one of these Google ones here, just.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Quick escape off of that.
Escape. Oh, here we go. I was in the same. So we'll start with the radar, and you can see we can loop this over Buffalo. We can shuffle off to Buffalo here, and I hit the plug-in. I didn't allow. We're gonna loop.
They will.
Here we go, loop, loop. All right. So you can see the lake effect bands. In this connection, we have bands coming. Obviously, we have feeder bands from Superior, but you can see this a really persistent band coming in between Buffalo and Rochester, one over Buffalo. These bands right now are more northwest to south, east, and the HERD and the HREF are showing up. I can call it that. If we move down, I think it's the State College's radar. You get a hint of the band that you can see on the satellite. I keep pointing over there because they have beautiful satellite pictures over there. You can see the hint of this really long band that's coming into north central Pennsylvania, and the second band here. And there's some isolated stuff here. I had some snow greens walking over here. Hopefully it'll snow. I have to walk home, so it'll be nice to walk home in the snow. Hopefully. You can always hope, right? So, but there's nothing really great. If we zoom out to the eastern United States view, you can see, other than the snow that's now in central New England, most of the precipitation is focused around the Great Lakes. We don't do well here normally for Great Lakes snow bands, unless that band should drift. And this is a satellite picture. I'll start with the red and visible red. You can make out this band that has a connection all the way up, all the way from Huron actually down, all the way down across Buffalo. It looks like it almost makes it to northern Westchester County. It's a pretty impressive band. I can loop that. I didn't overlay. You can overlay light. I didn't see the light here earlier. But these are pretty persistent band there. It looks like it's lifting though ever so slightly in time to the north, so it's not going to drift to the south and get us. But there's hints of other bands, and I think the flow is going to change. There's some bands over here. And, if I switch to the clean window, the one band is persistent enough that you can actually see it. And the snow and ice band. One of these bands was this one here. That's snow and ice. That was it. Sorry. It really shows where it snowed yesterday when the light changes. You can see that snow that went across Iowa and northern Illinois. Really, it looks pretty good up there. The cirrus, obviously is all low cloud, water cloud, particle clouds. You have a mixed ones up there, but you can begin to pick out some of the snowman features, which is pretty good. I don't think the water vapor really showed me too much. We'll take another look at it. It picks up the edge of this one big band. We're too far south. So we can go to, this is the 12Z HREF, and I have loaded up the precipitation types, all snow, unless you get to like Cape Cod in the Northeast now. And then coastal Maine is mixed. So this is all snow, of course. And this just shows the 1 hour precipitation and the scales at the bottom. The light, a lot of areas, there's a couple of areas here where you get the second, third color indicating maybe, 0.25 to 0.5 inches of liquid. But if you step through the 12Z HREF, you can see most of the snow, it focuses in New York State. It doesn't really show that anything coming in from the north. It seems to be missing. Maybe there's a problem. I don't know. The HREF doesn't seem to show the northwest to southeast snow band you'd expect to see. But most of this precip's focused over the mountains. If you go to the total precipitation, you can really get a sense of the flow. And this is, I'll go to the blended mean. And you can see it basically keeps the heaviest snow in extreme western Pennsylvania, across portions of Ohio, but really pounds New York State. It's in Lake Ontario. I would have expected to see something coming more like that based on the satellite, but it doesn't seem to show that. And it shows all the wraparound precipitation that's going on in New England. So, and the snow showers in the mountains and stuff. But this snow will probably be 15 to 20 to 1. So even though these precipitation amounts are like a ½ inch, that could be 10 inches of snow over 36 hours. So I guess if you were up in Warren, in McKean County, and of course over New York State, it's over 1 inch of liquid. Now that's a lot of liquid. They actually give snow type and 3-hour snowfall rates. And if you got anybody look at this data routinely? I look at this all the time. I find like if you look for the probability of like low ceilings, it's really good in the warm season. If the ceilings are really low, it's yucky bicycle, but usually drizzly or wet. So you can see most of the really low flight conditions are in the lake effect area. We're on the edge, of course, where the clouds come to die, rather than let out snow flares. That's the short-term weather. We can look at the temperatures with this too, and you can see it's cold. I think it was 31 outside here. It was like 31 at my house now.
Well, if we had a rooftop sensor that worked.
Oh. So it just basically shows for the next 36 hours will be abnormally cold. But we saw that in the plume diagram. So we'll get rid of that. And this is the HER. I don't know if the, I mean, the, you know, the HER updated. No, it's still 16Z. We'll go to the MARC scale. We can jump. Well, you can see in the flow is kind of, the flow is kind of more west of the surface, west southwest, and that's why probably the precip is being focused. I'll switch to a smaller scale so you can see better. But the low level winds are more west southwest, and that may be dictating why they keep starting the precip close to the lakes. Although you can see there is a northwest to southeast band in the HER that develops. So none of it really gets here. If we go to the total, precipitation. So you can see like there's a 10th inch contour. Here's a 1/4 inch contour to 20 to 1. You're looking at 5 inch snow maybe by tomorrow morning. And there's a couple of areas over half. So it's, but all the real heavy stuff is. And we just, anybody who's lived here long enough knows that we almost never get this stuff. So. We can look at the 2 meter temperatures to verify that it's cold outside. Well, I have my Norwegian sweater on. You can see temperatures drop into the 20s, and then that's about it though. It's not super duper cold, is it? And then here's a plume diagram. We'll go to Bradford, and it just snows in the SREF forever. I don't usually look at the SREF. I think the SREF may be biased in precip forecast for huge amounts of snow that I saw. I was kind of surprised this morning. I looked at the HREF and the HER at the snowfall forecast for parts of this western Europe. I thought it was a little high, but this model just once it starts snowing, it snows. Okay, but I find it's reasonable for temperatures, and you can see it. It doesn't get super cold in Bradford. Just stays below freezing. You go to State College, same kind of thing. We're kind of staying around freezing. When maybe drop in the mid 20s tonight, and then we probably won't get above freezing again until Thursday. We'll be close. And Friday we start to see the general warm up. You can see our 850 temperatures are headed rapidly towards 0. We switch to the GEFS and maybe the 12Z in. So the 12, very similar to the 6Z. The mean is now over. The mean and the median are over 50 on the second, and you can see a couple of members say it could get closer to 60 degrees. So we have a really good warm period coming up. Start the month of December, which maybe helps Paul and Fred's forecast. Remember, said they kind of made this forecast, and then they like, oh gosh, it's gonna be warm to start December. It's gonna be warm the first 3 days of December, and then it cools off. We'll see what they do with that potential storm next week, and they got, of course, the big rain event coming this weekend, and there's hints that maybe there could be a secondary storm with the cold front, but it's highly uncertain. I wouldn't bet the house on it. And then we'll go back to we'll go to the large scale pattern. I don't think there's anything new in yet. I don't think the GFS-BC is in. No, it's not in. So we'll use the GFS-BC from 6C. I think the North American pattern's good enough, right? You can see really the block flow, the omega block. Right? That thing was a delayed. This thing was a click behind that. You can see the big ridge, the big trough. You can see the wave that drops in. The big blue zone comes into California. It's going to rain in California, make all those ashes really muddy. Your rakes will rust. So then the big blow goes into the plains. Things like 2 clicks behind us, and then the trough goes up into the Great Lakes. So we're clearly going to warm up. Obviously we have several days where our temperatures are forecast to get above normal here. So if I was allowed to bicycle, I think I'd probably be bicycling this weekend. And yeah, you could bicycle behind it. Then Monday we cool off, and then there's the baroclinic zone over us. And if something develops, we'd probably be in a nice baroclinic zone over us next week. And you can see another big blue zone of cold air, relatively cold air, and the trough comes in because that big sharp ridge over Alaska. So we're going to end next week pretty chilly, if you believe that this guidance is reasonable. And then we moderate by the end of the month. By the middle of the month, we slowly moderate towards more normal. And I went through this before. There's no indications of any big snowstorms. Our best hope on this run was around the 5th and 6th, something along that baroclinic zone. That's the 3rd, and then if something comes out of the Gulf and maybe develops, but you got to be desperate to be going to that. Probably will. But anyway, we'll be chilly next week at the best. Anybody else have anything they want to see, or I'll wrap this up?
You want to predict our chances of getting the wettest year on record?
100.
Really, going all
Well, I don't know, we must be close. Where are we?
500.
7 inch away.
Yeah, I go.
Oh, we're breaking it.
Yeah, we'll break it, but this week, we'll crush it this weekend. You know West Junker, he went to grad school here, back in the 70s. West Junker?
Oh, yeah.
So he said he's at 78 point, the other day he was at, before this last event, he was up to 78.8 inches of rain. It's the most, I think he's lived in his house for 34
Where does he live?
years in Maryland.
Oh, well, that goes with what Baltimore has.
Baltimore's like 72.
Yeah, Baltimore's in the 70s.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So anyway, but so locally it's going to be cold here. Maybe some, obviously have some flurries, but the best snow's in our north and west. We're in an unseasonably cold air mass, probably the coldest air mass we'll see actually for the next 2 weeks, unless that forecast next week is underdone. There's no big snow in our forecast this week. If you want to see big snow, just drive to the northwest into New York State. We clearly have a warm up this weekend. It looks like it could be, there's potential for one really warm day this weekend. Like, I don't know if that way I would go with Saturday or Sunday. I have to look at those clues again, but we cool off right behind it Sunday night to Monday. It could be a cyclone. It could not be a cyclone. So perhaps there's maybe a storm in the cards on the 4th and 6th. And but the pattern is tending in the longer range later, after about the 7th or 8th of December, towards a more normal pattern. So in review, we have this modest El Nino winter in the making, perhaps an active coastal pattern. It's obviously better to have an El Nino if you want coastal storms than a La Nina. Everybody knows that, I think. The rest of the work week here is going to be kind of cold. We have some flurries, but unless you live in a lake effect zone, nothing to write home about. And if you're analyzing these things, the CAMs and the CAM EFSs are really your friend. They don't kind of completely drive with some of the snowfall forecasts I've seen. The GFS and NAVE show a brief wet warm-up for at least the weekend. Probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday going to be the warmest day. Is that correct? The days of the week correct? And next week we're going to be colder, to the near normal. And there's a hint of a storm, but we'll see. That's the only storm that has any hope for us if we want to see snow based on its track in the NAVES and the GFS for the next 16 days. So by the middle of the month, the 16-day forecast ends on the 13th. It looks pretty close to normal. And everybody wants to know what the winter outlook is. Well, I say I'll guarantee it's going to be colder and snowy than July. Paul will come here and tell you what the winter's going to be.
Cold today.
100%, we're going to break the record for a while, and 100% it's going to be colder in July. And I meant July in State College, not July like in Patagonia. Any questions or comments? No?
Still enjoying retirement?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a bicycle.
He can tell you a story.
Oh yeah. It's a weird story.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks.
Thanks
All right,
very
thanks,
much.
Rich. And of course, we have Palm Night next week. So now wrap up the Ken Reese Memorial weather briefings next Tuesday for the semester. And now I should be my last seat of US president. Someone else will be taking over.
So when's the first map discussion of the new semester then?
Won't be the first week of the semester. 'Cause of
No, it won't be the
AMS.
first week of
Probably
AMS.
15.
Yeah, probably.
It's still going to be, I guess we have to figure out if it's still going to be